Good evening and welcome back to the Red Devil Network here in Grand Rankin, Texas. I am Boo Boo Bear.
And I'm Sammy Wyatt.
And guys, what we're doing is we are bringing you the hits, the licks, the sticks out there in six-man football, folks. We're bringing you a forum that nobody's really bothered to touch before, at least not in this light. We're talking six-man football down to the cleats, down to the wiring, down to the hammer sole, if you will, Sammy, of six-man.
And hopefully we can bring you some good information for everybody that follows the six-man community. I know we're super excited to be a part of six-man football, and we're going to start by going through some scores, and then Boo Boo's got some interesting information in the six-man world he'd like to share with you, and then we're going to break down to our pick'ems for this week, for week number 2 in six-man football.
Man, what an outstanding first week of football we had. And we're going to be going through Division 1 and Division 2. Later on, like Sammy said, we're going to be going through the top 10 of Division 2 as they started out in week 1. But Sammy, wow us with these scores. We had some great games this week.
Some games of interest. Knox City versus Jayton. It was a really close game. Both teams quality. Jayton 46, Knox City Greyhounds 30. And then a team that I'm watching out is Klondike. Klondike, everybody needs to watch out for them. They're in Division 2, and they played Sanderson, a really good Sanderson team. I think Sanderson's much improved from years past. And Klondike won 55-6 over the Sanderson Eagles. They had Lasbuddy 19, Hart 12, and then the McLean was 36, Amarillo San Jacinto 30. That's a close game. Whoa. And then Motley County over Westbrook. Two quality teams here. Motley County 46, Westbrook 30.
Sammy, I'm not sure if that isn't the upset of the week right there.
I would say so, definitely.
Wow.
And so everybody needs to watch out for Motley County. And I tell you what, Westbrook, they're going to be in the top 10 in Division 1. And Motley County beating them in that first game. That was, like you said, a really big upset. And then we have a game that we were all watching, and that's Sterling City versus Garden City. Sterling City right now is ranked number 1 by most polls that I've seen. And they played Garden City Bearcats, and that game was a close one. The final score was 56 for Sterling City, and the Bearcats 42.
Man, that is a classic matchup, and those two schools are not that far apart. These guys see each other at the country stores, at the gas stations, and places like that, and I guarantee you Garden City will not forget this loss.
That's a huge rivalry. I know we have a rivalry with Garden City, but I know Garden City, Sterling City, that's a big rivalry. We also had one of the closest games of week number 1, and that was Valley versus Ira, and it was a nail-biter. Valley outlasted Ira 33-32.
Wow.
Went down to the wire. We had Blum 42, Aquila 28. And then a game that really surprised me, watch out for Buena Vista this year.
Yes.
Both fine teams, Erie and County, Buena Vista. And Buena Vista was able to beat Erie and County 84-73. All right. Eden and Blackwell. Wow. Two good teams, too. And Eden beat Blackwell by 1 touchdown. Eden 40, Blackwell 34. Happy 54, Groom 36, and Jonesboro 67, Coolidge 26. And going down almost to the end here, we had Richland Springs. Now, everybody was surprised by this.
Yes.
Now, the word is that maybe Richland Springs didn't have all their players. Have you heard that rumor?
I've heard a couple things out there, yeah. But I think, what you can take away from the rumors is that Richland Springs has more to offer as the season comes on. I mean, come on. It's Jerry Burkhart and company.
Yeah, and Jerry Burkhart, I know they had a COVID outbreak there in the area, and a lot of people in the area got it. So I don't know if they had their full roster, but I think a surprise to everyone was to see Marble Falls Faith 62, Richland Springs 34 in week number 1. And I'll be surprised to see them on a losing end on many more games this year. We also had a big game. This is a big upset. I thought May that might win this game, but not like they did. May defeated Borden County 51-6.
Well, there's a young man. He's got the nickname the Hawk. He's a running back out there from May. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. One of the finest running backs, not just in the East, but in the entire state of Texas.
Well, so maybe a team to watch. And Borden County, Trey Ritchie is an outstanding coach, so I don't see them getting beat by that. Be like that very often, and there's going to be some big adjustments for the Coyotes, and I can see them still being a strong team in Division I football. We had Midland Trinity 54, and then Midland Texas Leadership Charter 32. Newcastle 47, Meadow 46, another close game. Nail biter there. Paint Rock 52, Lone 7, and the Rankin Red Devils defeated the Bauma Bears 64-51.
Just an item of note there. Rankin, Texas has some of the prettiest colors that you've ever seen on a football team. No, that was a great game. For those of us who got to see that game, you saw two coaching masters go at it. You had the old bull and the young bull going at it head-to-head. You've got a young Bauma team. You've got a young Rankin team. And they went to war for 4 quarters and put on a show that night. And at the end of that dust cloud, the Rankin Red Devils held on strong, and they were able to pull that game out in the 4th quarter in a game that they had to fight back to get into.
Yeah, it was 22-0, and then Vance Jones worked his magic.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, Bauma was beating Rankin and went back and forth a little bit, but Rankin was ultimately the victor, winning 64-51. Rising Star 57, Gustine 50, Rochelle 62, Stephenville Faith 40, Rural 53, Wilson 8. And then we had Strawn and White Deer.
Wow.
Watch out for Strawn this year. I know White Deer's been quality, but Strawn put a whooping on them 15-8. Spring Lake Earth 72, Weir Harrell 50. And I hear the Rankin Red Devils will face Spring Lake Earth this Friday at 4 p.m. in Borden County. Waco Vanguard 67, Milford 18, Water Valley 60, Robert Lee 0.
Water Valley just coming in like a monster this year.
And then one game that really surprised me was Gordon beating O'Donnell 60-20.
Yeah, and O'Donnell, folks, O'Donnell's not done. O'Donnell's done this a few years in a row. They kind of look like a team that's going to just get out there and play a little bit. And all of a sudden, you get into district and you get into the playoffs, and those Eagles just turn it up, and they start playing some real quality football. Not saying they're not playing quality football, but there definitely is a district and playoff gear in O'Donnell.
Well, I just heard a bell, and I know what that means. It is time for some interesting info from Boo Boo Bear surrounding the six-man community.
Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the Uil Division Rankings here. And as last week started, they had the ranking system out. We're going to go through the top 10, and later on we're going to work our way back up the ladder. So we're going to cover every school eventually. But we're going to start with number 10, a little place called Anton. The Anton Bulldogs out there here in West Texas. Anton, a really good team. They went 11-1 last year. They surprised a lot of people. Anton, not really known for being one of those programs that's always going to be up in that. But what they did last year was phenomenal. Anton put themselves on the map, and they're definitely looking to make a playoff run this year.
I think they finished 11-1 last year.
Yes, sir.
And surprised a lot of folks.
So we're going to move on to Follett. There's not a lot you can't say about Follett that hasn't been said. They're 12-1. They are a perennial Division II powerhouse. They're going to always bring you their best game. They're going to play you hard. And something about the water in Follett, I don't know if you have noticed, but they've always got 6'2", 6'3" kids coming out of that place. But, folks, I'm going to tell you something. Follett, a dangerous place to be. Watch those Follett guys.
And I know the next one, I know you'll want to say a few words about Strawn. And, you know, they had a little interesting coaching dilemma over the summer where Dwayne Lee was going to go to Abbott, and then he decided to stay in Strawn. And a little bit of controversy there, but ultimately ended up in Strawn. And I know Strawn really had a great outing their first week. So everybody, all eyes on Strawn. Going to be definitely... They need to probably be ranked higher than 8, in my opinion, but right now they're ranked 8th in the state in Division II, and I see them moving up the rankings pretty quickly.
Absolutely. They got a coach up there called Dwayne Lee. And a little group went in there. They started doing a thing called Texas 6, and I'm sure a lot of you in the six-man world have seen that. Texas 6 does an amazing job of following these kids around. So when you first see Dwayne Lee, he just, boom, pops up onto the scene. He's this coach. He's screaming. He's yelling. He's getting onto him. But then you start seeing a different guy. You start seeing the guy who cares about the kids. You start seeing the guy who cares about his community and his team. And the reason he fights so hard is, he is a West Texas guy. He grew up, played football down in Crane, Texas. He's one of those guys that was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth, didn't have everything come easy to him. Dwayne Lee's fought all the way, and he coaches his team like that. So when the school board found out, and the city of Strawn found out that Aquila made a move on this hero, this megalodon, this just
legend
king there in Strawn. Yeah. The people of Strawn, of course, they were taken back just a little bit. So they've got to do something now. Aquila's looking to make a strong move out of the east out there. They want to do something. All eyes are on state championships every year. But the city of Strawn, the school board, everybody got together, And Dwayne Lee was made not only the athletic director, not only the head coach, but also the superintendent of schools in Strawn. So Dwayne has a heavy road this year, and he's got a lot of cargo coming with him. But I'm sure he's in a place where he loves to be. The people absolutely love him there. Last year, Strawn Greyhounds went 11-3, and they've still got that camera crew following them around. They've been following them around for 3 years. Wow. This will make the 4th year. So what an ending to those 4 years it would be if they were able to pull off that state championship, because we've seen their freshman, sophomore, junior, and coming up, senior year of this little program.
You know, when Aquila was put in that situation, I don't feel too bad for Aquila because they were able to hire a really good coach.
They got a really good coach.
They hired Shannon Williams from Lakey, and so I think Aquila's going to be just fine in the coaching area. And so it's good to see Aquila pick up a quality coach such as Shannon Williams, and I know he'll do a great job there. But interested to see how Strawn does throughout the year.
And 9-3 Calvert, moving up into number 7. Calvert's in the top 10 just because they are Calvert. There are a lot of great athletes, a lot of good community in there. We got to see Calvert come to Rankin last year, and Rankin did beat Calvert, but you can absolutely see that in Division II and wherever Calvert goes, they're definitely going to be a problem. They got a bit of a coaching change this year. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out as they go into district. But look to see Calvert definitely finish in the top 10 in Division II.
And then we move on to Klondike, who I think is underrated here at the 6th slot. Klondike, the Rankin Red Devils scrimmaged them in the first scrimmage of the year, and is a pretty much an even scrimmage there throughout the contest. So Klondike are really good on the defensive end of the ball, and I expect them to do really well. And I'm going to predict Klondike to finish in the top 3 this year, even though they're the 6th slot.
Well, you know, it says here 11-1 last year, but let's talk about that one. You know, I believe they lost a game to Groom, and Groom would go on to lose to Bauma. But Klondike, if you go watch him, like Sammy said, this is a team that is in their gap. This is a team that controls their edge of the field. This is a team that can run, punt, catch, and pass. They do all 4 things really well. This is a solid football team out there in Klondike. So buyer beware. If you put them on your schedule, you're going to get the actual Cougars this year.
Boo-boo, did you just say punt? That doesn't happen much, but I bet they are good at it. Now the 5th slot, this is a team that I think, if I was ranking, I'd put them at number 1, and that's Motley County. I think after their first week showing, they're going to be a team that's hard to beat. So watch out for Motley County this year. I think they're going to be one of the top teams in Division II.
Let's talk about a few things we do know about Motley County. They've got a coach out there named Coach Bigham. And anybody who's ever spent a little time around Coach Bigham or watched him coach out there, huge personality on this guy. When he's on the field and he's a coach, he is the alpha. He is the guy out there coaching. That's his team. Those are his boys. And Coach Bigham expects the best out of his squad year in, year out. They do have a running back out there, a kid by the name of Blake Richardson. He was the leader in 6-man last year. And this is a district that they lost to Jayton in last year. And they also lost to Bauma 30-36. So they're not losing to small teams or little quality teams. They're losing to really good teams out there. So there's no hiding it. Whenever they hit the field out there with you, Motley County is going to run.
Yeah, I think it's Richards, correct? Richards, great running back. I know his brothers were all pretty good football players. I know his daddy fairly well. He used to work at Rankin, but I think he's the principal there at Motley County. So good luck to Motley County this year. We look forward to see how you do. And I'm putting them at the number 1 slot, in my opinion, but right now they're listed at number 5. Now we're moving to my neck of the woods. I graduated in Aspermont, and our neighbors were the Jayton Jaybirds.
So Jayton is another one of those royalty schools in 6-man football. You know, I mean, there are sets out there called the Jaybird set, and they're called that for a reason. Josh Stanlin and company out there in Jayton. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. Josh Stanlin wouldn't be the head coach in Jayton if he couldn't bring something to the table. They're an absolutely good team. Last year, they lost to Bauma and area 46-90. And Motley County, and they do have Motley County in their district. So I'm going to tell you something. They got a kid out there named Caden Valerio and Nate Williams at running back. So look for this to be a young, fiery squad that's looking to get their district and keep their title.
All right, now in the 3 slot, And I don't think you see Richland Springs in the 3 slot very often, but Richland Springs Coyotes are in 3 slot, and they were 12-0 last year and had an excellent season, but they started the week 1 with a loss, which surprised everybody. But I know Jerry Burkhart, he's one of the best coaches that I know, super X's and O guy, just superior in talent. We were fortunate to have him on staff, and I learned so much from him. So Jerry Burkhart, they're sitting in a 3 slot. Never count out the Richland Springs Coyotes.
Absolutely. Jerry Burkhart, a marquee coach in 6-man football. It's going to be a very short list that you're going to find a better coach out there than Jerry. He's a total package. He's going to coach you mentally. He's going to coach you physically. He's going to coach you spiritually. This guy's going to do it all. He's got 9 state championships. And, there's a key factor in all this. Last year, they lost 74-38 in state to who? The Bauma Bears. And that seems to be a running note here is Bauma. But they have had a state championship along the way, several of them, 9 to be exact. And since 2004, I'm talking the 2004 state championship, Richland Springs as a school has gone 232-12.
That's unbelievable.
And in that time, they haven't ever lost more than 3 games in a season.
Wow. All right, now to number 2, Groom. And Groom, I didn't expect them to be in the number 2 slot. So I know they have some really good athletes and return starters on both ends of the ball. But anxious to see how Groom does this year.
So they got 2 brothers out there. They've got Damon Kuehler and Steven Kuehler. Now, this is the key to Groom. And Groom has done a lot of really good things out there. But one of the things that they've done really good is they hired Coach Dodson out there. Coach Dodson's gone 39-21 in 5 seasons. Some of you might be thinking that's very average. But look at the district and the place where they play. You've got your Borden counties, you've got your Strawn, you've got your Jayton, you've got your really marquee schools in 6-man. And this isn't just, the playoffs. This isn't down the road, we'll see them. This is somebody they play week in, week out. So if you're playing a Groom team in the playoffs, you are playing a very seasoned team before you get in there. Coach Dodson was the 2020 6-man Coach of the Year.
Well, congratulations to you, Coach Dodson. It's well-deserved, and we look forward to watching Groom and all their success this year. And that brings us to the top of the list, the Bauma Bears. And Bauma the state champions, and so they enter this year at the top of the list, and rightfully so. They've earned that spot. And Vance Jones is definitely a mastermind. He was inducted into the 6-man Coaches Hall of Fame this summer. And so it's good to see him be in the Texas 6-Man Association or Coaches Association Hall of Fame.
Well, let's just talk about a few things in Bauma. It wasn't but a few years ago that Bauma, and to the folks in Bauma, I love you guys. I don't mean any harm by this. But Bauma was one of those schools that you would put on your schedule. You're going to try to pick up a win. You're going to try to play somebody and do that. Vance Jones comes to town, and you hear this sound. Slap across the mouth. Bauma Bears are the Bauma Bears. They come out, play you, they hit you, they beat you soundly. And then they shake your hand, pat you on the behind, tell you great game. But a couple things about Vance Jones. I have a lot of respect for this coach. I think he's absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Sammy. He is a living legend. In 2020, of course, we do know they were the state champions. But let's go all the way back to 1975. In a little place called Marathon, they were the finalists. Then coming back the next year with Marathon in 1976, state champions. In 2002, he took a little school called Sanderson all the way to the top, and they just lost that game as they were finalists. And that in 2002, and then in 2009, he went to a place that we all know out here, Garden City. That was the resurrection, if you will, of Garden City. They won a 2009 state championship, also a 2010 state championship, and then he would go to Bauma. Some people were scratching their heads thinking, hey, what's the old man doing going to Bauma? Hey, it's got pretty scenes. They got a great little pond lake out there. But in that time, in 2016, he did what a lot of people thought was the impossible. He took Bauma to the finals. A lot of people thought one and done. No. He comes right back the next year in 2017. He takes Bauma to the finals again. They're knocking on that door, and they're letting everybody know that Bauma is here to stay. You would see an absence of them in 2018 and 19. But in 2020, they came storming back, won the state championship, and Vance Jones's record at Bauma is 276-58.
I think that's his,
I'm sorry.
That's his overall record.
I'm sorry, yes. Vance Jones' overall record as a coach, phenomenal. 276-58. Now, Bauma Ray, he's 96-21 with the last loss he just had to the Rankin Red Devils out here in Rankin. But absolutely love Vance Jones. Sammy, this is a monster top 10, and this is a who's who. You might be asking yourself, who's on the outside looking in? Let's take some schools like Blackwell. Blackwell's always one of those schools you don't know what's going to happen when they show up. They may be a 45-point underdog, but they might just come out and beat you by 15 points. So be on the lookout for the Blackwell Hornets.
And then Gordon's always, play people well. They're well coached, Gordon. And then Gordon has this huge rivalry with Strawn anyway. And so never count out Gordon. I could see them sneaking up in that top 10 and making a little noise. All right, so after the top 10, now it's time for our Pick'em show. So Boo Boo and I are going to give you our picks for some games that we selected through the year. And now Boo Boo helps run what's called the Seventh Man. So I'll give you a little plug for the Facebook page called The Seventh Man. Follow it, and you can add your picks on The Seventh Man, and we have a season-long contest that you can enter by going on Facebook and following The Seventh Man.
Absolutely. Nothing but pride at the end, but you can't say that you were the best picker of the year.
All right, so the Week 2, first game we're going to pick is between the Klondike Cougars and Midland TLCA.
Boy, I'll tell you what, this is going to be an easy one for me. I'm going Klondike.
I think Klondike is going to take care of Midland, and I'm going to go Klondike Cougars all the way by 45 points. All right, next one, big game here, and this game is going to happen at 4 p.m. Friday afternoon in Borden County, and it's going to be hot, hot, hot.
Yes, it is.
And that's the Rankin Red Devils versus Spring Lake Earth. All right, you got a pick here?
Well, we do reside in the grand city of Rankin, so I'm absolutely going to go with my Red Devils. Rankin Red Devils for the win.
And if you're from Spring Lake Earth, you'd probably expect nothing less than both me and Boo Boo picking the Red Devils over Spring Lake Earth. However, I will say this. Spring Lake Earth is a heck of a team, and they have a fantastic spread back. I think he went to state in the 300-meter hurdles last year. Hard to stop, and anything can happen in a six-man game. And if you can't contain him, you will not be able to beat Spring Lake Earth. Next, the O'Donnell Eagles at the Garden City Bearcats.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a slugfest out there, but when it's all said and done, I do believe that the veterans there in Garden City and Coach Jones are going to stand tall. I'm taking Garden City in this one.
Before last week's score, I would have picked O'Donnell, but Garden City played Sterling City close enough to really open my eyes, and Garden City Bearcats are for real this year. So I'm going to pick the Bearcats over the O'Donnell Eagles, but I do think it's going to be a relatively close ball game. All right, next, May Tigers at Sterling City.
Hey, I'll tell you something. There is a time and a place for everything. If you're saying that this was a game December of 2020 last year, I'm going to take the Sterling City Eagles in it. But being that we're in a new season and everything's been revamped and we're moving along, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and take those mighty Tigers out of May.
So you're picking the May Tigers over the number one team in the state of Texas ranked currently. Well, you know what, Boo Boo? I agree with you. I'm going to pick the May Tigers to beat the Sterling City Eagles, but I think it's going to come down to the very last possession of the game. So it's going to be very close. All right, now we have another big game, Borden County Coyotes at Westbrook.
Now, this is a classic matchup because on one hand, you've got the Borden County Coyotes who have a loss last week. On the other hand, you have Westbrook, and they have a loss last week. You got two teams that do not want to go down the road here with two losses. None more than Borden County. You've got Trey Ritchie and Bubba Edwards out there. They probably hadn't slept a wink since that last game. Yeah. But having said that, I think in my little heart of hearts, and I do like both these schools, I'm going to go ahead and take Westbrook in this game over Borden County.
Well, I think I maybe need to start picking first because I'm not just following Boo Boo's picks here. But Borden County quality, they got thumped pretty bad last week, 50-8. And I know Westbrook is quality. I'm going to pick Westbrook over Borden County. But just like the Sterling City game, this game could go either way, and it could go down to the last possession of the game. It also could be the team that has the most turnovers could be the loser of this affair. So I am picking Westbrook. All right, next one on our docket, Water Valley versus Blackwell.
Well, In this case here, Blackwell, really good school, really well coached. They play you really hard, but I'm going to have to give the athleticism and as far as having seniors and juniors on that team and what they can do with them, I'm going to take the Water Valley Wildcats.
I am as well. I think Water Valley is going to be really hard to beat this year. And Blackwell, they were good last year, made the playoffs. They're a quality team. I think Water Valley is going to have a little bit I know they have some big, strong guys. I saw them when they were younger. Water Valley is going to be hard to beat. I'm picking Water Valley to defeat the Blackwell Hornets. All right, now we have Van Horn at Bauma Bears.
Now, Van Horn's one of those really dangerous teams. They dropped down from 2A last year. They were going to be in the playoffs. They had a little bit of a COVID scare out there. Rankin had them scheduled to play in the first round. We don't know how that would have went. Rankin did get the bye from the COVID. But as far as this game goes with Bauma, as they say in Bauma, that's going to be a Vance Jones.
Well, I have to agree with you. I'm going to pick the Bears over Van Horn. And definitely the Bears are hard to beat at home.
Oh, yes.
They have that green grass, and it's usually a bit longer than most everybody else's green grass. And so I'm going to pick Bauma over Van Horn. And next we have the Lakey Eagles heading all the way to Eden to face the Bulldogs.
You know, as I said earlier, there's always a time and a place for everything. Last year, I may have gone another way in this game. But after seeing week one and the way it's gone, I'm going to go ahead and give the nod to Manny Gamboa and those boys out there in Eden. And I'm going to go Eden Bulldogs.
And I'm going to agree with you. Eden Bulldogs over the Lakey Eagles. I think Lakey losing Shannon Williams and them starting over with a new coach. Not that coach won't get their feet wet and do a fine job, but losing a powerhouse coach like Shannon Williams will take a little bit of time to replace and for those kids to adjust. And Eden has some great athletes, so I'm picking the Bulldogs to defeat the Eagles. Now we have one, Milford at Abbott, and I think it's the Abbott Panthers.
Now, this is a team last night. I had to get down in there and I had to dig in and look. I went off of scores, and I'm just kind of going off of what I saw. So my picks don't really mean a lot. Last year, I wasn't even in the top 10 in my pick'ems, but I will say this.
Well, I think that's normal.
But I will say this, going with tradition, I'm going to go with Abbott in this game.
All right, and I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh.
I'm going to pick Milford to defeat Abbott. So here we go. So between me and Boo Boo, whoever wins that Milford Abbott could put one of us on top of this pick'em list early on in week 2. All right, next we're going to go out of the 6-man realm into NFL football.
All right.
And the Dallas Cowboys, opening night on Thursday night, will face Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You know, they've got their Tom Brady, they've got their Gronkowski, they've got all their free agents, and they've made some big things. They've got a Super Bowl championship out there in Tampa Bay. But I'm going to tell you something. I want to be a Cowboy, baby! Dallas Cowboys all the way.
Do you have a score in this game? Do you have a
You know what?
I want to hear a score in the Dallas-Tampa Bay game.
It's going to be a scoring affair because you do got Tampa Bay, you know, and their mighty offense out there. But Dallas has a pretty good offense too. Look for CeeDee Lamb to grow up and open up a lot of running room for Ezekiel Elliott. I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys 24, Tampa Bay 17.
All right, 24-17, Dallas. And I agree with you, Boo Boo. I'm going Dallas Cowboys all the way. Sorry, Carter Owens, but I think the Dallas Cowboys will defeat Tampa Bay in opening night on Thursday night. And I think all the other people that are picking are all picking Tampa Bay. So we're kind of going for the upset.
Well, that's where you get your points in these pick'ems.
All right, next 2 college games we're looking at is Texas versus Louisiana, and then Clemson versus Georgia.
Well, Texas and Louisiana, both these schools in the top 10 this year. If they're going to want to stay in the top 10, they're going to have to win. You know, and everybody's trying to get one of those 4 slots at the end of the year for that College Bowl playoff. But absolutely going to go with a revamped Texas Longhorns. And I'm looking for the Texas Longhorns to go through the entire season with only 1 loss this year.
Well, I think everybody needs to watch out for the Texas Longhorns wide receiver core.
Whoa.
I think this is going to be the best wide receiver core they've seen in a while. And so because of that, I think they're going to have a high-powered offense. And I pick Texas to defeat Louisiana. All right, last pick, and we're going to give a score on this. Clemson versus Georgia. Give me a score.
Clemson versus Georgia. Going to go with them Bulldogs for the upset in this big game right here. And it's not much of an upset. Both these schools are top 10 NCAA schools. But I'm going Georgia 32, Clemson 24.
All right, and I'm going to disagree with you. And
Whoa.
I'm going to pick Clemson over Georgia. And I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be 24-21, Clemson on top.
Now, sweet Samuel, you do understand that Trevor Lawrence is long gone from Clemson.
Yeah, I think Clemson's going to have a surprise at the quarterback position. And I think the young man that's replacing him is pretty good. So we'll see. That's going to be a good game, but I'm going to go Clemson 24, Georgia 21.
So if you get your opportunity, get on Facebook, go to The Seventh Man Show, get in there, pick against the pros, that's us, and see what happens, folks. It is going to be a wild ride this six-man season. As we were saying last week, if you want to be famous, if you want to be known, get in contact with the Red Devil Network. We're going to absolutely go out there. We're going to talk to you. We're going to make a phone call. We'll talk to coaches. We'll talk to kids. We'll put your town on the map. So if you want to get out here, just let us know.
And get on the internet and search Lone Star Gridiron Network. And a lot of these shows will be playing there. And we'd like to thank everybody there. And we have a sponsor. We'd like to thank our sponsor. We have two sponsors that'll help us with the Lone Star Gridiron Network. Do you know who they are?
We've got Valley graciously from Jerry Jackson of Rankin, Texas. They're going to sponsor the show. And we've got another one on I guess you could say on the hook right now. It's going to be Flozave out of El Paso, Texas. But let's see what happens. See, we do spread out there. Folks, if you do want to be a sponsor for the show, all you've got to do is contact us. There's a really good man out there in East Texas named Chris Dole. Chris Dole wrote a few books on on high school football. And he's got the only high school board game in the state of Texas. So that's something to be looking out for. As time goes on, we'll get the name of that and we'll have that out here. Maybe do a little advertising for Mr. Dole.
Yeah, thank you, Chris Dole and the Lone Star Gridiron Network. We sure appreciate your support and everything you do for Texas football across the state. All right, I think that does it for episode 2. And we would like to wish everybody good luck this week as you go and watch some Friday Night Lights and maybe some Thursday Night Lights whenever you're playing. But we'd like to wish you well. And I've been Sammy Wyatt.
And I'm Boo Boo Bear.
And we'll catch you next time. And go Red Devils.